Hey everybody, it is your host Kirby Gunnarsson here for the Week 14 YarskCap, and we got Week 1 of the playoffs upcoming. I am here as always with my co-host, little down in the dumps today, Mr. Zachariah Earlbeck, aka the Sap Vegas Panty Raiders. But the only panties that Sap rated was you getting that first round bye. Zach, how you feeling, man?
If I can be honest with you, it feels like the season is over. That is my fantasy football mortal enemy. And I was looking at this week going into it, and I thought, okay, I have to win to get the bye, beat Sap. I was just looking at his team. I was looking at my team, and it was set up for a trap game. I just could feel it coming from 1,000 miles away. I just knew it was coming. We got to, at the end of in the middle of the Raheem Mostert game, I knew it was over. Once Raheem Mostert sucked, it's over. So to be honest with you, I went full end of season mode. I deleted Twitter, which is the end of season ritual. I turned off all the podcasts. I shut it all down. So I told you before we started, I said, you're going to have to carry this podcast because I didn't look at a damn thing. Sap literally beat me into oblivion. I'll be honest with you. It feels like the season is over. I'll be honest with you.
And yeah, like usually just to give people a quick idea, usually we'll spend 10 or 15 minutes just shooting the shit beforehand. And you were sitting here, you were struggling today. You just were not into it, but we obviously are podcast for the people. And right now, I guess we're going to touch base really quickly on that matchup. I mean, is there any worries that you have with your team going forward? Obviously, Miles Sanders isn't the same running back, and Kyler Murray, since he injured his shoulder the last 3 weeks ago, he hasn't been running anymore. So do you have any worries about that?
Is there any worries? Boy, Kirby, what do I fucking start? So, yeah, Kyler Murray is not running at all. Okay, he's been trouble. Miles Sanders is dead to me. Actually, Carson Wentz is dead to me. A.J. Brown hurt his ankle. Luckily, he came back, but A.J. Brown, is hurt. Michael Thomas was limited today with an ankle injury. Raheem Mostert sucked balls. Kenny Golladay hasn't practiced in fucking forever. So Josh Jacobs is hurt. So is there worries? Yeah, there's plenty to worry about, Kirby.
I know, and what makes it even worse is that Sap beat you with, he didn't have his ace in the hole, no Gronkowski playing, so he couldn't play the 2 tight end threat. He also had a flex of Alshon Jeffrey, who I think one new segment that we need to come up with is just the dumbest play of the week, or AKA we're going to call it the Bigs of the Week. And the Bigs of the Week, despite the win, it goes to Sap for playing Alshon Jeffrey. I mean, what the hell are you thinking, Sap? There were so many better players out there than Alshon freaking Jeffrey. We're not playing in 2018 anymore. So I'm going to award you the inaugural Bigs of the Week to bring you a little bit off your high horse. What do you think, Zach?
I love the idea. I kind of thought that too, is we needed to kind of roast people for making kind of boneheaded starts. Like the week before, didn't Sap start Samaje P. Ryan or something? It's like, what are we watching the same football games? Why are you playing Alshon Jeffrey? I mean, he hasn't scored a point. Oh, I'm sorry. He scored 2.5 points all year. It's like, Sap, what the fuck are you doing? So I see Alshon Jeffrey and I go, okay, that's good news for me. But I don't know how to describe it. I was watching Justin Jefferson go ham. I knew Lamar Jackson was going to torch the Cowboys. I could feel the trap game coming from 1,000 miles away. And the other thing, and I know it's hindsight 50-50, is I was debating on whether I should start Miles Sanders or Calvin Ridley, and I made the wrong choice. And I think if I would have made the right choice there, I would have won. But everybody was saying that, the Packers defense sucks, that everybody runs all over them. But I should have known better. So I got burned. It doesn't feel good. It just feels like the season is over. I know I don't have the Yarski, and I know there's still games to be played. It feels like the season is over.
Oh my God! I've never heard a man so down after just finishing a 9-4 season. But you're taking a 9-4 record to a whole new level of low. So we'll kind of dive in quickly into next week's matchups. We're going to start, starting off with Schultes and Bill. I want to give your quick, just level overview of that next week's matchup that we got, and that's between the 4 and the 5 seed.
Well, I mean, I just ran through all of my problems. Fields has to have just maybe not quite as many problems, but he's got problems of his own. I mean, we got the notification that Zeke had some weird, was it calf going on today, that he won't practice a lot this week. But I guess I didn't. So I don't know. That basically they're saying that he has a calf issue. Chris Carson has a foot issue. I mean, Bill's staring at a New York Jets matchup for Chris Carson that's juicy, but he doesn't. I mean, he's obviously not 100%, so he can't feel good there. And then Antonio Gibson basically suffered turf toe, so I'm assuming he's out, right? I mean, I haven't seen it official, but he's got to be out.
Yeah, more than likely he's out with turf toe, especially for a running back. With that, it's just too big of an injury. And I mean, if he does suit up, it will be a risky play, but that'll be up to Bill's prerogative, obviously. So all of a sudden, he's got a little bit of flex worries, but he's got some bench wide receivers, and hopefully, luckily, he does have Tony Pollard as the insurance policy for Zeke. But he's going to be running into a little bit of flex problems with his potential, with the lack of running backs he potentially is having now.
I totally agree. Like, he's got some good bench like options for receivers, but I'll be honest with you. I think Bill's going to get fucked here because, again, like I said, I turned off all the podcasts, so I feel like I'm out of the loop here, except for this podcast because this one's the GOAT. But I feel like Bill's going to kind of get fucked because Zeke's going to not practice, but then like try to play. So then at that point, what do? I mean, if Zeke's active, how do you not? I mean, if Zeke is active and Bill has the cojones to start Tony Pollard over him, I know they play Cincinnati, so it's juicy matchup again. But like, the fuck do you do if Zeke's active? How can you? I mean, and he's not like he's got great options there. So like, I think Bill could kind of get fucked by the Zeke situation. It'd be if it was Zeke was like out, guaranteed, locked and loaded. I'd say, oh, Tony Pollard will be fine. He'll be golden. But I'm not sure that's how that situation is going to iron out.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's going to be interesting. And I think no matter what, I think that, and this is just my personal opinion, I'm always technically, I ride with the horses that got me there. So if Zeke is active, I'm just going to end up probably riding Zeke. And if he goes down, then I'll go down and I can live with myself. But if you start Tony Pollard, all of a sudden Zeke gets his regular workload, 20 carries, 100 yards. I wouldn't be able to sleep the next night. But if Zeke's active, I think I'd play him. But that's my 2 cents. I'm very conservative with my plays, but it makes for a very interesting decision come game day for Bill. That's for dang sure.
Yeah, I'm 100% with you. If I have Zeke and he doesn't practice all week, but we get the notification that he's going to play on Sunday, you have to play him. I mean, there's just no other option. I mean, it's a shitty deal, but you just got to do it. So that could honestly be worst case scenario for Bill if Zeke doesn't practice all week, but then ends up playing. It could honestly be about worst case scenario. So, but what do you think about Schultz? Schultz has got his injuries of his own. What's the latest on Christian McCaffrey? Like I said, you're more in tune to this stuff than I am.
I was surprised that Zach goes AWOL on all the Twitter stuff, and he actually didn't know this beforehand. But McCaffrey, he had a shoulder injury that kept him out a few weeks, which allowed Mike Davis to run a little bit longer. But now he has a new, I believe the quad injury that he suffered last week and re-aggravated in practice today. And we're taping this on Wednesday. And so there's now a question of, obviously, Carolina's not in the playoff race, if they're going to bring him back or if they're just potentially going to shut him down the rest of the season. They haven't necessarily said that, but it kind of makes sense. So obviously, if Christian McCaffrey's not a go and James Conner is back from the COVID list, all of a sudden, Schultz's running back situation is looking not good at all. He's got players like Giovanni Bernard, who will get the start now that Joe Mixon was ruled out against Dallas. Todd Gurley, who's a question mark and now is losing a whole bunch of touches. So Schultz's team is absolutely loaded in terms of the wide receiver, tight end, and QB, but those running back where you get a lot of points, it's a whole lot of question marks for Schultz. So 2 injured teams just completely try to battle it out and survive one more week and hopefully get a little bit healthier.
So what do you think the likelihood that Christian McCaffrey plays is?
If you're giving me the guess to say it right now, I'm saying a 33% chance. I'm saying less than 50%.
Wow. Okay. See, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there, but I was thinking basically they were going to limit his practice reps, but that he would be just itching so much because I think they're like technically, mathematically, like eliminated from playoffs, but so it would make sense to shut him down. But I gotta believe he's just fucking itching to play because the guy hasn't played in forever, and then he plays for one game and gets hurt right over again. So I hear what you're saying, that it'd be smart to just kind of sit him, but boy, I bet McCaffrey's itching to play. And if McCaffrey doesn't go, yeah, that changes the complexity, or it changes how this fantasy game looks on paper. I totally agree with that.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's going to be the huge injured bowl. I know I'll give my prediction at the very end of the show on who I think will win, but we got to talk quickly. We got a rematch of last year's Yarsky Championship. Mano y mano, you gave me the free breakfast pizza on my way to the fueled my nutrition to a championship last year. What are your thoughts, just quick high level, on our matchup here next week?
I don't feel great, to be honest with you. How many did you score last week? Like 80? At one point, you were like looking like you were going to score 80.
I scored right around 99. So I think the lowest I've scored this year is like 94 points, and I've kind of been hovering around the 113 or 115 range. But last week was a down week, I know, with Herbert.
I don't think I'm going to get another 90-pointer out of you. And I look at my team, and it just does not inspire confidence. So I'll be honest with you, I don't feel good. Josh Jacobs didn't practice today, I saw, so it sounds like he's going to be out. I can't start Miles Sanders against the best run defense. I know Jalen Hurts. I don't know. I didn't listen to anything, but I would think Jalen Hurts can't be any worse than fucking Carson Wentz because he's been dog shit. So I can't start him. So that means I have to roll with fucking Raheem Mostert or Devontae Booker. So, yeah, I don't feel really good. How do you feel?
I mean, honestly, I think that was the kind of question, and you kind of answered it yourself. Like, I look at your teams, and one of the things, just to kind of peek behind the curtain of how Zach and I kind of do fantasies, like if we kind of know our lineup, what we do in the playoffs is we look to our opponents and what they are kind of looking for. So if I see Zach needs a certain position and I know I'm ahead of him in the waivers, might try and play a claim for a guy who I think he might have to block him. So that's kind of what I did a little bit today. Obviously, with waivers haven't run, we won't dive into who I did. But I was wondering if you were going to start Mostert or Sanders, but it sounds like Sanders is officially dead to you. So now it's probably going to be rolling Mostert and the receivers. And overall, I like the outlook of my team. Obviously, we had a rough week from the Chargers, but that was against Bill Belichick, who's renownedly known for causing terrible games from rookie running backs or rookie quarterbacks. So I'm not worried about him this next week against Atlanta, which I'm hoping is just all the points in the world. And my real decision I'm going to have is between my RB2 and potentially my flex, because Mike Evans and Chris Godwin had injuries pop up today. Chris Godwin with his finger injury, which he's been dealing with for a few weeks, and Evans with his hamstring, which following his history, he has a lot. So a little bit worried with that. And if Swift doesn't play, I got a tough RB2 position. But overall, I do like my squad. I like my upside.
I think didn't Swift practice, but Tyreek Hill was sick today, right?
Yep, that was correct. But luckily, they did say it was not COVID related. So hopefully it's just something where he's sitting out for a day or two and comes back. But a whole bunch of sicknesses this time of year.
I'm telling you, I'm not counting on Tyreek Hill not being there, especially after his 50 burger the last time I saw him. I'm sure I'll get at least 20. So you can.
Hey, you know what?
For Sat Vegas, you can lock in Tyreek Hill plus 20 fantasy points.
I'm hoping so.
Farm on that, baby. I'll bet the farm on that.
I'll take whatever the hell I can get. I mean, I think it's going to be a fun battle. Obviously, we'll talk our fair amount of shit, or at least I will. It sounds like you're already conceding defeat and all that stuff, and you're already in remorse. So once you win next week, you're just going to shove it right back in my face. But, hey, what the hell can man do?
Yep, I'm setting my lineup and I'm turning my phone off. I don't want to hear a damn thing until is there a Tuesday game this week or just Monday?
Just a Monday game. And I think right, you just need to change your kicker so you don't have a guy playing Monday nights. I don't want to wait that long.
Yeah, I'll probably turn the phone back on probably Tuesday, and if I won, I won. If I lost, I expected it. So.
All right. Well, you're being a sore ass loser. So I guess the only thing we truly have left to really discuss, we'll try and keep it a little bit shorter for Josh's sorry ass, was just quick playoff projections. So we talked before. I think we're just going to do a quick. I'm just going to run through my matchup, who I think is going to win in the first round, second round, and the third round. and then you can kind of give me your thoughts after I discuss each round if that works for you.
Yep, let's go.
All right, perfect. So the first round buys, we'll just kind of give a quick overview. The number 1 seed was Roscoe with only having, I believe it was just the 2 losses on the year, and he rode those horses of his 2 big running backs and Julio Jones. And then the number 2 seed was Pooty, who came up with a huge win, and he's got Chubb and Dalvin Cook, so he's got 2 horses for running back as well, along with Josh Stallion, just absolutely killing it for him, along with Stephon Diggs. Those are your top 2 seeds that will have a bye this week. For the first round matchups, I'm taking Schultes to pull off the win over Bilt. I'm just really rationalizing, like, Bilt has 2 injury questions, Schultes has the 1, and I love the upside of Metcalf and Adams and Patrick Mahomes, and I think those 3 players are the 3 of the best players of their position. So I'm going to give Schultes the win over Bilt, and I do think I'm going to end up taking the win over you, Zach. Just looking at your team, you got some tough matchups for some of your better players. I'm solely scared of just Aaron Jones and nobody else, and I'm hoping Kyler Murray doesn't gain his legs. So those were my initial thoughts in the first round. What do you think?
Yeah, that would be who I would take. I'm a little disappointed in Sapp that we didn't get. I mean, you would think with all his victory celebrations, we would have heard more from him. But I thought I made it blatantly clear that we needed like Vegas lines on these games, because that would make it. I mean, that would make it more interesting. Right now, projection wise, I mean, you can't even do projections because Bill doesn't have his tight end in yet, and so much can change. So, I mean, right now projections have Bill plus 11 and me plus 15. So the question isn't who you think's going to win. The question is, do you think you're going to cover the spread?
You know what? Honestly, you're asking me right now. I'm guessing I'm covering the spread. I know the only thing I'm worried about is who my boy is going to be throwing touchdown to. And I'm worried if it's going to be Hunter Henry. I wasn't happy you got him as a tight end. If you throw it to Henry, I could be in for a bad day. But I feel like Eckler's due for a receiving touchdown or 2, which I think the double points is truly going to help me come up with the W.
Dan, you're going to do me dirty. You're just going to say you're going to beat me and cover the spread. That's just cold-blooded, Kirby.
Hey, you know what? I'm a man. I try and speak honestly. I don't lie into the YarskCap. So I'm just going to do what I do. And I'm hoping just put a stomping on you just like it did in the championship week last year. 15 points, that was an easy spread last year.
So, yeah, that's who I would take. I would take you, and I would take Bill. I'm sorry, I would take Schultes.
All right.
I'm assuming again, like I say, I'm unplugged from everything right now, but I just have a weird feeling that Christian McCaffrey plays. If not, I think it's closer, but I'd still probably give the nod to Schultes. I think Gio Bernard, he can throw in there and he'll be good enough because the Dallas defense blows dick. So I think he'll be good enough. So I think it's closer if there's no Christian McCaffrey, but I still give him the nod.
Yeah, nope, I 100% agree. So that would set up, because I'm the number 6 seed, that would set me up with a matchup with Roscoe, and Pooty would be matching up with Schultes. And for that week, I would have Roscoe getting the win over me. I think I have a good team. I think my team is better, more well-rounded. But when we're talking about fantasy football, it truly just comes down to your running back horses. And I like the idea of Derrick Henry just absolutely running through the competition next week. And along with Alvin Kamara, by then he's playing the Chiefs, I believe, in week 15. And I believe Drew Brees might be back, so he's getting some of those dump-off passes. I think that Roscoe is going to end up riding those 3 horses into the championship game and ending my reign as the champion. And then the second matchup, Pooty and Schultes, I think I'm going to be rolling once again with Schultes. And this is under the rationale that I think Christian McCaffrey is going to be healthy that week. I think he's going to miss this week and make it back next week. And then the upside between DK, Devontae, Christian McCaffrey, and Mahomes, that's four players that are top 1 of their position or top 2 or 3 in the case of the receivers. So I'm going to take them despite Pooty's well-renowned running backs as well. I'm going to take Schultes as the winner over Pooty.
So one thing that I know you knew this, but everybody who's not as plugged into the podcast and stuff, Derrick Henry has the best fantasy football schedule for the playoffs out of literally anybody. So I mean, basically everybody's expecting him to just torch the playoffs. So Ross has an absolute monster sitting there with 25 plus potential every game. Like he has no bad matchups. He plays Detroit the second round, and then he plays the Green Bay Packers the third, like the championship week. So especially if he gets Drew Brees to boost Alvin Kamara back to Super Camario, I mean Ross is set up to be dangerous. So I agree. I just right now he has to be the favorite to win it all. So again, you have blow up potential on your squad, but Ross's team looks absolutely dangerous next week and throughout the rest of the playoffs. So then you would go to the next Pooty and Schultes. Do you ended up picking Schultes? Is part of that because Pooty has literally never been here? I don't think we've congratulated Pooty at this point. That fact that he had never made the playoffs and now he's sitting at a bye. So good for him. Like I said from day one, or from probably podcast one, he just has this team of destiny feeling to him, doesn't he? There's something about Pooty this year that just feels like 2020 is so bonkers that this just has that team of destiny feel, doesn't it?
I would be a little afraid of putting out the team of destiny because I believe the first team that we referred to the team as destiny was Jared when he started off the year so hot. All of a sudden, he's in the Sacco playoffs. So let's try and avoid that verb because Pootie's happy he's here, but now he's trying to get a W. And so what I look into potentially that I worry about a little bit is he does have the two stud running backs between Cook and Chubb, but I know the matchups that he has are against Chicago for Dalvin Cook and the Giants for Nick Chubb, whose defense looks phenomenal. But obviously those running backs are going to get theirs. But if all of a sudden those running backs, instead of getting 20-point games, they're getting 10-point games, losing some of that potential upside, and DJ Moore being hurt, all of a sudden Pootie's flex position is a little bit iffy. But obviously each team has potential small little holes at this point of the year. We're all battling injuries. So it'll be interesting to see if he tries to roll through with the likes of Melvin Gordon or Alan Lazard. So it'll be interesting to see what he does in that Week 15 game.
Yeah, and then, I mean, if you look at Schultes' team, who he would be playing that next week, I mean, Christian McCaffrey gets the Packers, which would be juicy. But other than that, he's got tough matchups across the board. So I don't really want to bet against Patrick Mahomes, Christian McCaffrey, Devontae Adams, and DK Metcalf. So I think it's going to be tight, but I don't know. Partially because of those four monsters and partially because Pootie's just never quite done it. I suppose that's where I'd have to go. I'd have to agree with you again, and we'd have Ross and Schultes in the championship.
Yep. Nope. Absolutely. And you know what, Pootie? Please do not take that lightly. Zach just called out your ability as an owner in the playoffs. So he's definitely calling you out. So you got a whole week and a half to prepare and make sure that you don't disappoint us with your start-sit moves, or else Zach will not so you can make sure that Zach doesn't hear the end of it if you potentially pull off the upset. And so that was set up. We both currently have. Oh, go ahead. Let's hear your rebuttal.
Well, I'm just saying, like, isn't that funny that Pootie's the 2 seed, but like he's the underdog, really, and I know it's because Schultes has been without the best fantasy football player all year, and then he sneaks into the playoffs. Like we said, he was going to be the dark horse the whole time, but Pootie just hasn't gotten enough. The whole year, Pootie's been doubted. So, I suppose it's kind of prove it kind of time. So I don't know. It's going to be fun to watch Pootie's squad go through.
I know. And obviously that projection goes with the caveat that we're assuming McCaffrey is playing. If McCaffrey is not playing, we are both on the same page of, okay, we think Schultes' team, though he's got 3 good studs, McCaffrey rides the thing that gets him over the top. And McCaffrey doesn't pay. We're pivoting our pick to Pootie. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, Christian McCaffrey is maybe the most, I don't know what you want to say, most not valuable player, but like the most interesting, most crucial, biggest question mark of the whole playoffs. If you think about it, Schultes' team looks so much different without Christian McCaffrey in the lineup. Like it's so scary when he's got the best running back, the best receiver, and the best quarterback, and then DK Metcalf. It's like, boy, I just think if Christian McCaffrey plays, which I'm assuming he does, he's going to be a freaking tough out. So.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I'm 100% with you. And one thing he also has is TJ Hawkinson, who's proven to be a top 5 tight end. And as we know throughout the league, tight end is such a wasteland. So he's got a good stud player there. So my projected championship matchup, I got Roscoe and Team Schultes. And unfortunately for Schultes, I think Roscoe's team is just a juggernaut between Derrick Henry, Kamara, Deshaun Watson, Julio Jones. You're saying Eric Ebron, who he traded for. He's getting so many targets from Pittsburgh. He's given him a good tight end floor that he truly needs. And right now, Andy Dalton's looking better. That's making Amari Cooper play well. So I truly see almost little to no downside with Ross's team. And it's pretty much just can Julio Jones continue to stay healthy, and can Deshaun Watson continue to produce now that Will Fuller is in? But between the two stud running backs, Kamara and Henry, I got Roscoe as my projected champion of the Yarski League for the 2020 year. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I hate to just agree with you on everything, but I'm not betting against Ross this year. And honestly, I think, not to bring this up again, but the fact that Ross's team looks so dominant might be the reason your keeper rule gets abolished at the end of this year. I mean, his team looks freaking phenomenal. And yeah, like you said, I'm not Derrick Henry and then Alvin Kamara back at his superpowers. You know, like you said, if Julio Jones can just keep up with Devontae Adams and Amari Cooper can keep up with DK Metcalf, I think Kamara and Derrick Henry would give Ross the edge in the championship game.
Yeah, nope, I absolutely agree. So that is our official projections for the Yarski final playoffs. Next week, I know we have scheduled to have Kyler and Sapp on as our guests, maybe live, maybe we'll do it via Zoom. We're not 100% sure yet with Christmas holiday upcoming, but we know they've been talking shit to each other, so we're excited to have those two on to talk some shit back to each other. And then we'll also project the Sacco playoffs, and we'll see who's going to have that terrible ball sack in their house for next year.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I've kind of closed up shop. So really, that's what I'm more interested now is who gets shamed for the entire off season at this point. I'll be honest with you, like it's going to be riveting to see. You know, there's 4 good storylines if you think about it, right? I mean, you could get Jared to go from 4-0 all the way back to a 3-time Sacco. You could go to my mortal enemy Sapp. So he is who I want to get the Sacco. Kyler, you know, the poor guy who hardly says Pete throughout the whole, year, and now he has to get publicly shamed every time we bring up the Sacco. Or, you know, you could have Axe, newfound father, who brings a baby into the world with a nutsack hanging on the wall, you know, playing the season under protest. 1-11, I think, is what he ended up. So it's like, what 4 riveting storylines for the Sacco nutsack trophy. It's gonna be a lot of fun.
I know. Honestly, I'm kind of a little bit like, we're in the Yarski playoffs, which is obviously great because I don't have the worry of playing for the Sacco, but the Sacco playoff stories are actually better than the Yarski championship stories, because finishing last, I mean, like you said, Josh is going to be a new father of a baby boy or girl. And Kyler, he's got to potentially explain why he has a ball sack trophy hanging up to his little boy who's getting smarter every day, Jax, and also brand new little girl. We'll see how Caitlin handles all that. And then obviously with Sapp moving into his new house in Carroll, we can make sure to showcase that beauty. And then Mr. Henkenius, between a 2-time Sacco, he might have to change his team name next year to, I don't even know if he's going to find a way for 3, but I can't wait to try and find out what he comes up with.
Yeah, I think I get why we wait. It's just gonna be hard not watching that Sacco's. You know what I mean? It's like God, I want the Sacco playoffs to start already. It's the fact that there's a bye just always kills me. I hate that we have to wait, but it'll be worth it. And I think next week, you know, I was worried that the Sapp and Kyler episode was this week. I had my wires crossed. So I thought I was going to have to face the music to Sapp personally. Luckily, that'll be a week down the road. I won't have to. Well, I'll still have to deal with him, but you know, I think next week's podcast is going to be a lot of fun getting Sapp and getting Kyler talking, because that Sacco playoff, like you said, the Yarski is fun and great. And I think Ross said it when we were down in Texas. He goes, nobody wants that Sacco. That is like the absolute worst case scenario. It's that low is worse than the high of winning the playoff, if that makes sense at all. So I think next week, once we can kind of dive into some of those Sacco playoffs, it's gonna be a lot of fun.
Oh, for sure. I know we talked earlier, not on the pod, but we just said like, hey, if you have the choice of winning the Yarsky or losing the Sacco, like winning the Yarsky one year, losing the Sacco the next year, it was not an easy decision for us. We're just like, ugh, that's not good. So,
Yeah.
you know what? We can work. Josh, it would be great to potentially see him in that just because that picture would live with infamy forever. But I think that kind of wraps up what we're going to talk about here. Next week, we'll dive into the winners of last week's matchups, preview the Yarsky, but then also preview the Sacco. Finish it up with championship weekend, and then we probably will do a season recap with some year-end awards and stuff that we can get everyone to vote on. How does that sound to you, man?
Yeah, I think it's crazy the fact that it's wrapping up already. I mean, like the draft doesn't feel that long ago, really. I mean, to me, it doesn't. This is week 14, and it's like, so that's, almost 3 months ago that the draft was. It's like, no, that can't be right. But fucking, that's what 2020's been, just kind of a blur. So yeah, it's crazy that it's coming to an end. It'll be missed once it's gone, but it's going to be a blast closing it out these last couple of weeks.
Yeah, it's been a good addition adding the podcast. We know we used to do the power rankings, but just a quick hour between us and just catch up, talk some shit, and get everyone together and talk a good time. So with that in mind, I think we're going to wrap up this week's edition of the YarskCap. Good luck to all the members except for the Sat Vegas Painted Raiders. And you know what? We'll see you guys all next week and kick ass and take names.
Peace.